27 boats in this 49er FX. This is the yellow fleet, and the early leader has been the Danish boat Jena Hansen and Katja Salskov-Iversen. Strong winds earlier in the day, delaying the start of racing. And that is Hansen, Gary, making the early pace.
Well, interesting to be out here right now watching the course. We had strong winds all morning and it's dissipated, and some of the course has some pockets of strong wind and some light wind. And it's amazing to me on such a short course, we're going around 4 times, 4 legs to this course, and yet the boats are spread out. You would think they'd be a lot closer together.
Tight at the first mark, and it's the Danish boat which is first around.
The trick here is to get that spinnaker up flying as quickly as you can and look for a patch of clear air. You'll notice the blue spinnaker in the middle of the course gets set, and then they jibe away. See that right in the middle, heading off in the opposite direction. The problem with that move is you sail underneath or on the leeward side of the boat still approaching the mark and possibly lose some distance. So you go for position to get more wind, but you got to pay for it to get there.
And there's one of the Argentinian boats going through. Victoria Travascio and Maria Solbrantz.
It's really quite a shift of gears when you're going upwind versus downwind. Downwind, you would think it's a little bit easier, but when you set the third sail, the spinnaker up, it really keeps everybody edge, trimming the sail, trying to stay in the puffs. And the game here is to look for more wind. Doctor patches on the water indicate more wind. You stay in that wind, you gain because you go a lot faster.
A lot of distance already. An early stage of the race, a huge amount of distance between the leaders and the rest.
So as you see the 2 white marks there on the left of the screen, this is a gate that the boats sail through. There's Denmark rounding in the lead, looking really good, taking what we call the right side gate. The reason the right side, they feel it's a little closer to the next mark, and maybe there's a little more wind down here.
Australian boat going through second. Great Britain third.
And Great Britain taking a long time getting that spinnaker down. That's a mistake. That spinnaker should have been down, sailing well wide of the mark. So some bad boat handling there by GBR.
The Danes with some 7 or 8 seconds as they went around there.
These boats go about 1 boat length in 3 to 4 seconds. So that's a pretty good lead, having a 7 boat length, a 7-second lead.
Been well supported here in Santander. Good crowds watching from the dune. The principal observation point. There were some 30,000 people at the opening ceremony, and they've turned out in force to watch again this first race of the day.
As the afternoon goes on in this race, they will learn what the course is, which side has more wind, and the direction that the wind is blowing from one side to the other. If they learn that there's more wind on the right, you'll see more and more boats heading to the right side. But as we can see, the boats all staying on starboard tack. That's the left side of the course. So right now, they're very comfortable sailing in the direction they're going.
Jena Hansen's boat looks as though it's going further away. The Danish lead looks as though it's extending.
Well, the nice thing is when you're in the lead, you get clear wind. You can see on the left side of the screen, nobody around, no interference at all. And that gives you an idea that, hey, we'll just get further ahead. The rich get richer.
See from our aerial shot there, conditions almost unbelievably good when you think how it was a matter of a couple of hours ago.
Of course, it's beautiful for us to look from the air, but aboard the boat, the tactician, the crew were doing tactics, and the skipper, their heads are literally maybe 2 meters above the water maximum, so they can't see the wind quite as well as we can from this position.
On the third of 8 legs here.
And both boats make a maneuver, they tack over. You see Denmark there now on the port tack. And the reason is that the wind is shifted a little bit. It's shifted, so they're now sailing a more direct course to the mark that they want to turn, which will be visiting 3 times throughout the afternoon. 4 times, 4 times up. The course is L4, which means windward, leeward, back and forth, and they'll do 4 times around. So it'll be 8 legs in total.
They're the pursuing Australians. Perhaps a gap of 6 or 7 seconds between the two.
So you might wonder, what can you do to catch up when you're behind? So if you're Australia there and you're about 8 boat lengths behind, clearly you want to sail a little bit better, and you want to tack instantly. You get a wind change and make the leading boat cover you, play your game. So a little bit of cat and mouse here. You can see we just had a little puff of wind come through, and one of the questions for the Australians on the right, when do I make my maneuver? When do we tack?
The gap between the two, though, to the naked eye, Gary, looks as though it is continuing to extend. Danes making the most of the clear air.
When you have a wind like this, John, where it's dying, you know, it's going down, it gets harder on the race course, because which part of the course do you go? Where is there more wind? And if 5 boats go off to the left and you're on the right and the wind goes left, it could be big trouble. So you split the difference between covering the fleet, staying between your competition and the next mark, but still looking for the strongest wind.
They're a beautiful shot as we look back across the bay here in Santander. Sailors need extraordinary athleticism apart from anything else.
Well, this 49er FX does exactly that. It's a very athletic boat, inspired by the Australian 18-foot skiffs. The 49ers were introduced in the Olympic Games in 2000 when they were in Sydney, and this time around they decided, well, let's have a women's division in these skiffs. They're a little bit less sail area, so here we are.
Well, the British boat moving down the outside looks as though it's made the most of a real opportunity to move through right the way past the Danes and into the lead.
Very impressive, because as we saw at the first mark, they were well behind. They found better wind, and with a little bit more wind, you can really accelerate and go 2 miles an hour faster, and the competitor will make up a lot of time in a short period.
British boat with Kate McGregor and Katrina Best. Being trailed now by the Danes, with the Australians relegated to 3rd place.
So we watch these crews come around the mark. There's a lot going on. Remember, there's only 2 people. You've got to get the spinnaker up. You've got to ease your sails out. Do this while you're in the middle of the boat, so you don't have you're using your weight to give stability. So the trick is to sail a low course, get the sail up, then come back up on a course, fill your sail, and accelerate for speed. And you try to do all of that in 1 boat length.
Well, the British pair made a huge amount of ground of water over that 3rd leg. Now making good progress downwind. Dobson and Ainsworth leading the way.
And notice the jibe there. They go through it and hardly lose any speed at all. This is a well-oiled crew. Now notice that jibe with the red spinnaker in the middle of the screen. Notice how they'd stop. The crew got a little out of balance going through that maneuver. They lost about 1.5 lengths compared to the British boat that didn't lose any speed at all going through their maneuver. Notice how far back in the boat the 2 crew are. When you're going downwind, get your weight back to get the bow up out of the water. When they're going to windward, they'll move up forward. So here, let's see how well they do going through this jibe. Beautifully maneuvered. Nice done.
Halfway stage, and the British pair valuable progress. Great chance of claiming a place in the final.
So they go through the gate here. They got to get the spinnaker down. Look at that, wait till the very last second. Well done. The idea is to get as close to the mark as you can without hitting it. If you do hit it, you have a penalty to do.
While maintaining speed, which they did.
Boy, have they stretched out. 12 seconds have gone by here. 15. Do you want to know how you get good at doing this? You just do it over and over and over again. You need to sail just about every day for about 3 hours practicing this stuff.
The Danish pair had a lead of some 10 seconds at the end of the 2nd leg. What a turnaround this has been. Second Danish boat has now claimed third place.
So in the first lap job, we saw the boats all head toward the south side of the course, and now they're heading toward the east side of the course. So clearly the wind is shifting out there, and the sailors are taking a look at where the strongest wind is, and now they're sailing right across in front of us on the port tack. So the wind is changing, and because it's changed so much so far in this race, we expect it to change a little bit more in the next two legs. From the air, you look at this water and it looks kind of calm, but when we get shots down by the water, you'll notice it's quite lumpy. And one of the reasons is the water coming across the bay slams into the seawall and then bounces back. So you can take a look at the water here.
Well, we're talking about how it looks from here, how those conditions are shaping up. Let's go onto the water now and join Shirley Robertson. British pair continue to dictate the course of this race on this fifth leg of 8.
John, we're talking about how choppy the water is. This shot here shows that. And the crew have to work the boat through the waves, and they do it with steering, they do it with their weight position, and they do it with the sail trim. And all three have to be coordinated together, and there's 2 people. So you'll see them working the sails, working their weight, and steering the boat through the waves. And if you can do it a little bit better than your competition, you gain, and GBR is gaining here. It's actually harder to sail these boats when the wind gets light and you have choppy waves like we have out here right off the seawall at Santander. Very impressive spectator crowd out here.
Quite an impressive spectator crowd on our commentary platform, who are currently being moved. But as you say, a lot of people have turned out to support. City put together a plan which incorporated the building of a viewing platform close to where we're watching, accommodating some 3,000 spectators or more.
The dune is what it's called, and it's impressive. And even here late in the afternoon, there's way over 1,000 people, I would say, right now, but it does have room for a lot more. And this wind continues to die. And not only that, there's a current on the race course. As we look at the screen, in this picture here, the current is going left to right at about 1 knot. So that's another factor they have in it. GBR continuing to sail fast upwind. So you look at these 49er XSs, and you see those racks on either side. So the crew extending from wires, the trapeze, extends their weight over the side. It gives the boat more stability, and those racks help out. That's what was developed with the Australian 18s to get crew away from the side of the boat. The problem is the further you get away from the side of the boat, while it gives you more stability, it makes it a little harder to be able to operate. So you got to be able to operate a long way away from the boat, extending from a wire. There's a good shot of the 2 of them going upwind, making adjustments constantly, changing the shape of the sail with every different puff of wind or velocity change.
It was at this stage that the British team came powering through. And you can see an emphatic lead there from that aerial shot. A battle, though, for second place. So let's have a look at that. There's the British team going around the mark with a sizable advantage. And now we'll concentrate on the battle for second place, with it looking pretty much, Gary, as though that British team, I know you can never say with any degree of certainty, but it's looking as though the British team are away.
Well, the British have a good lead. They can't be conservative, keep pushing hard. But in second place, there's a lot of boats that have an opportunity. Denmark, who we saw in the lead earlier.
Two
Brazil,
Danish boats there, Gary.
Right, and the Brazilians coming on. But look at this race for second.
Nothing between them. Maybe representing the same country, but it's cut and thrust.
Well, even though they're from the same country, you can be sure they want to be in the lead. So it's going to come down to who gets that spinnaker up flying as quickly as possible.
Being trailed around that mark by a Dutch boat.
And Brazil after that.
Brazil right in there. And another British team coming around there.
So interestingly, we have the Dutch team jibing away, going off on the other jibe, not satisfied to be in fourth place. Let's try the other way. The two Danish boats sailing close together here. They don't want to split from each other.
And the rest of the pursuers. You look down there to where the British leaders are, and it is a huge lead now, well over half a minute.
Notice that you look at the two British sailors, that they're up on their trapezes. That's an indication the wind's going light. It gets windier, they'll lower those trapezes down and get closer to the water to give the boat more stability. At the top of the screen, we can see the two Danish boats with the red spinnakers there, the Brazilian boat with the blue and the Dutch above them.
Maybe the Brazilians there have just got the advantage on that far side of the picture.
Good race going here between the Danish. Now the windward boat, the boat number 49, is trying to drive over the top. They're accelerating faster to blanket the wind of boat 136.
Hansen and Salskov-Iversen.
And just like that, the wind stops for the windward boat, as they say that, and 136 drives away. Boy, just getting the slightest extra wind makes a big difference. There's a good aerial view here.
One of the British boats on the far side of that pursuing group looks as though it's making great headway. Danes on the near side as we look at them.
Well,
Maiken Vogt-Schut and Anne-Julie Schut. Also Brad Nielsen and Marie Tursgaard-Olsen. And Jena Hansen and Katja Salskov-Iversen, they're the ones who are leading the pursuit.
So the top boat jibes, good move to get back in the center of the course. You're trailing, you always want to keep the action in the center. If you're leading, you try and push it out to the corners. But making a good move here. The Danish boats jibe simply to stay between them and the mark. And along the seawall, you'll see the laser radial, the women's radial division getting ready for a race, and a good view of the spectators here on the dune. Boy, with one crew sitting inboard, it really tells you the wind has gotten light here, John.
Our commentary position earlier on today was literally rocking with the force of the breeze. Now it's just a light breeze which is wafting across.
You know what I was thinking about today? How nice it would have been to be out sailing in that good breeze.
Would have taken a good sailor.
So the two Danish boats still about 7 or 8 boat lengths behind. Slow getting that spinnaker down there. 136 struggling. Let's see if 49 has a better takedown. Good shot. A lot to do. Pulls it in. Well done.
And 49 there is Maiken Vogt-Schut and Anne-Julie Schut in pursuit of Jena Hansen's boat, currently holding second place. Brazilians round in fourth.
I like the way these sailors hold the spinnaker to the last second. Let's take a look here. I think it's GBR here on the left. Oh, beautifully done. That doesn't happen by accident. It's an indication they do a lot of time practicing. Meanwhile, with that better turn by 49, you can see that they've caught up and a little bit closer to 136. The race for second is getting better.
Very little between them.
View from the other side. So you're 136. When do you tack and cover or tack back into the center? Look at the helmsman looking around. She's nervous. The reason 49 on the left has more wind and is gaining. I like the way 49 is going to windward there, really going fast, and now they tack away. So 49 elects to tack away. The reason they see more wind on the left side of the course, but it is risky leaving the boat that's ahead of you alone.
British leaders are way, way clear of these. Remember, this is the tussle for second place.
When you get a big lead like that, you want to bottle it up so that you keep it for another day. But it doesn't seem to work out that way. Every race starts from scratch. But life is good.
And are the Dutch getting into the shake-up here?
Well, they have an opportunity. You know, they weren't that far behind the two Danish boats. With the Danish boats dueling against each other, they could actually force each other back a little bit, opening the door to the Netherlands, Brazil, and that second British boat.
I think this is Nina Kaiser and Claire Blom who are making good headway. The Dutch on the two Danish boats in the battle for second place.
Compare the two boats that we're looking at on the screen. The one at the bottom, the Danish boat, to my eye, John, just looks to be going a little slower, and the reason they just don't have as much wind is that boat at the top of the screen.
At the top, Jena Hansen and Katja Salskov-Iversen.
Now look at this cross here. Remember the two Danish boats, how close they were before at the mark? They're even closer now.
Where would you rather be right now, Gary? Who's got it right?
Well, I'd like to be where GBR is, well in the lead with no problems. But it's more fun to have boats around and racing when you prevail and come out on top.
Dutch currently in fourth place on the far side of that shot there. As we look back across towards the land.
GBR on the left rounds the mark in the lead, John. Looking stronger and continued to gain.
And you can gauge yourself just how far in front they are.
So they'll be heading for the finish now. 4 laps, 8 legs.
More than half a minute behind this battle for second place as they come up towards the mark. And the British boat is heading for victory. Looks as though Maiken Vogt Schut and Anne-Julie Schut have the advantage.
One of the questions I ask, if you're in an area with little wind, do you bail out and head for the stronger wind, or do you wait for the wind to come to you? And my experience is try to always head for that new wind. Look for the darker patches on the water. Look where other boats are that are going fast, and go to the wind. Don't wait for it to get to you. That's what they're trying to decide now.
Conditions changing a little here. We've got cloud now.
Cloud, which is probably depressing the velocity of the wind here.
Around the final mark.
Brazil, out of nowhere, passes the Danish boat.
Brazil's moving up into third place.
Place. Second Danish
fourth
boat.
Place, there's Hansen and Salskov-Iversen around for Denmark.
Followed by the Dutch.
And then come the Dutch, Kaiser and Blom. So it's going to be a British victory. .38 seconds behind the leaders.
Now we mentioned that the laser radials are coming out for their race. And they'll be studying what happened on the race course here. How did GBR get in the lead? Where was the better win? That's something they and their coaches will talk over before the race.
Well, here are our leaders moving up now towards the finishing line. Dobson and Ainsworth take it. Emphatic winners.
Miller
seizing the lead on the third leg and never really being pressed thereafter.
They're coming up for a jibe maneuver here. Let's see how they do. Nicely executed. The spinnaker hardly collapses at all going through the maneuver. Well, here's the stretch strides to the finish. There they are.
So there's victory for Great Britain. Across the line. Dominant performance and winning by a considerable margin.
What's impressive, John, is they were behind. When they got the lead, they kept stretching out. Very impressive that they kept the boat going fast, going from one puff of wind, more velocity all the time, never a throttle back.
Just through everything.
This is the second place boat.
Brazil coming out of nowhere. You know, they're hanging back fourth, fifth the whole way, but that last windward leg, they were able to find more wind on the left side of the course, and that worked to their advantage, second place.
Sophie Grael, her boat going through in second place. For a long way, it looked as though the tussle was between the two Danish boats for second place.
Well, Denmark, followed by Holland, is coming in next.
Brazil moved through second. And here comes the first of the Danish boats. Going to take second. This is Hansen and Salskov-Iversen taking third, I beg your pardon. And the Dutch coming through fourth. Well, let's go onto the water now and let's hear from Shirley. Well said, couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you very much for that, Shirley. Well, that was working okay. See an Estonian boat going through. Katlin Tamist and Anna Maria Sepp, you'll know them, Gary?
Well, you know, it almost, John, looks like some rain clouds in the distance. We're kind of downwind of a mountain chain here, small mountain chain beyond the airport. And we could have some rain here in another half hour or so.
Which certainly closing in.
Which also means that we could have a real shift in.
Throw to who? And now we'll go once more to Shirley, I think, on the water.
The commentary that's going on.
Yes, okay, well, there go the Brazilians, and we'll be talking at this sort of level. People apparently not hearing us too clearly.
I like this idea of the sailors coming right by the seawall, the dune here where all the spectators are, to get a look, to cheer for their favorite team. And the Brazilians back in 5th place there, finishing 2nd. That's a good afternoon.
Good performance in the latter stage.